Hello, welcome back to another From the Margins podcast. I am one of your two miraculous hosts, Violet Knight, and I'm here with...
Connor Renfro.
Connor Renfro is your other co-host who is here. He's large, he's in charge, and he only wears a medium, I think.
That's true.
Look at that. I remembered your shirt size.
I'm actually wearing an extra large shirt today.
Gotcha, why so?
Well, it's a button-up that I inherited from my grandfather. It's like true vintage. It has like a duck head. I think the brand might be Duck Head or something. I don't know.
Gotcha.
And it's just such a cool like color scheme pattern. And I love this shirt to death. And I like to wear it like intentionally oversized over some like tight-fitting pants. And
beautiful.
Actually, like one of my students commented on it today. He asked me, "Is that shirt too large for you?" And I'm like, "It's a statement piece."
What do we want to start with for our conversation today?
Violet, what's your biggest fear?
That's a great question because I don't 100% know. I just know I have several fears, but I don't know which one's the biggest fear.
What's your most irrational fear?
Oh, my most irrational fear. Okay, in terms of we're defining irrationality as being something that has either no harm or no validity as being something worth being afraid of.
All right, so I was working with my third graders on Tuesday, and we actually read a article on phobias. An article. Sorry, I had to correct my own grammar. And they defined phobias as things that can't actually hurt you, but you're so afraid of them to the point where it's like inhibiting your healthy lifestyle. For instance, arachnophobia is the fear of spiders. And some spiders are actually like, bad for your health. But you're so afraid of any spider that you cannot live a normal existence because you're so just deeply afraid that there could just even be a spider.
If that is the definition of phobia, then I don't know if I have any real phobias because none of my fears that I really have are so pervasive in my own life that I'm having trouble existing unless I know I'm around that specific thing.
Right. Well, in this culture, we love to overdiagnose and we love to self-diagnose. And actually, the amount of people who have a true phobia is a lot smaller than the people who profess to have a phobia.
In that case, I would say I do have fears, but I do not have phobias.
Likewise.
With that in mind, so let's talk about our fears. Would you like me to start?
Yes, what's your most irrational... What fear do you want to talk about first?
I like the idea of it being irrational because I've got a few irrational fears. The biggest irrational fear is like a pet peeve that has just gotten monstrously large to the point that it's a fear. Okay, Connor, you're sitting in a movie theater.
Yes.
You're listening to the commercials go by during the movie.
As I often do.
You're listening to the movie, commercials, and there comes a commercial for a soft drink like Coke or Pepsi or whatever.
Coca-Cola.
And they pour the drink in the ice and the ice bubbles.
Oh yeah, because it's actually like a display of how good the theater sound system is.
Right, which makes this one much worse. They pour the drink into a glass and there's ice and everything.
Clink, clink.
And it goes clink, clink and it fizzes. But then the drink goes down and it goes to the bottom and you hear... Oh God, I can't do it.
Wait, that's your fear?
I hate the sip noise.
So it's the sip and the ah?
Yes.
Like the slurp and then the ah.
Connor, the convulsions that I just had, I can't do it.
Could you do one without the other?
Well, see, the problem is, it's like, I probably could, but they're always together, especially in terms of drink commercials.
Well, I guess if you hear the slurp noise, you're anticipating the afterwards.
Oh my God, I can't, that is the most irrational fear I have because the physical reaction I have to it is just so strong. There used to be commercials on the radio in South Carolina where they would do that exact noise. And I can't remember who it was for. It might have been the time that Sundrop was trying to go national. But they did that commercial. Some soda company did. And I remember I convulsed in the passenger seat. And my mom's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I explained to her. And to this day, she still makes fun of me for that fear.
I mean, I would make fun of you too if I was your mother.
Next time we go to a movie together in person, and that commercial happens, if it happens, you will see, I will low-key fucking flip out for a second and try to hide it.
I actually haven't seen a commercial like that in a very long time.
I saw one recently,
What
But
theater
I
chain
also,
was it?
I almost exclusively go to Regal,
Okay.
and Regal typically has that commercial.
Right. That is the last time I saw it was when I went to a Regal movie.
So there you go.
And the theater was
Um,
like, because it's a showcase for like how good the sound system is.
exactly. And by boasting the sound system, they send me into fucking convulsions.
Womp womp womp.
Oh Lord, my body shivered.
Mm.
All right, Connor, I shared one of mine. Would you like me to share more, or would you like to trade off and you do one?
I mean, we can take turns. My fear has a story attached to it.
Go for it.
I'm afraid of horror movies that have animal masks in them.
Ooh.
So, like, what was that one? I think it's called Your Next.
I was just about to mention that. Yeah, Your Next has that is like the movie poster.
I couldn't even watch the trailer because they had like I was it rabbit masks?
It was like I think the one it's like a lamb mask
Oh,
for
it's a
the front of the
lamb.
movie. I think so. I'm about to go look it up.
Rabbits are actually scarier to me for some. And I think like in Your Next they had one of each animal, right? They weren't all lamb.
Right, they were all different animals.
So the backstory for this fear is when I was a wee bab, my father made me watch this Australian, based on a true story horror movie called Fortress. And it's about
Uh
a
huh.
one-room schoolhouse in like the bush, I think. It was
Right.
like a far out community with like not a lot of city around it. And it's like this one-room schoolhouse, and the teacher is there with her students, and they get abducted by like armed gunmen, all of them wearing masks, like animal, well, not even animal masks, just like cartoon masks. Like the first mask you see is like this man wearing a duck mask, and he's just like casually chilling in the window while the teacher is delivering her lesson.
Uh
And
huh.
when that happened, I like screamed.
Oh my god.
And there was also a Santa Claus mask, which is why I know it's not all animals. But like one of
Mm-hmm.
the gunmen had a Santa Claus mask. Anyway, the movie goes on to say, or what happens next in the movie is that like they abduct the entire schoolhouse and they take them into this cave and they're holding them hostage, I guess.
Right.
And what happens is the children like riot and these little school kids end up killing all of the men like one
Hell
by
yeah.
one, which is like fun and cool. I don't really remember it that well. I just apparently I was so scarred from that movie that years later, when Your Next, had its trailers, I saw the lamb mask or the rabbit mask. I know somebody had a rabbit mask because the rabbit scared me more than the lamb. The lamb is also
There
scary.
there are rabbit masks in movies. Like the only one I can think of is Donnie Darko.
But
But
that's
like
like a
I
full
just looked
blown
it up.
rabbit suit.
Right. But I will say I just looked it up. There wasn't a rabbit mask in Your Next.
There's not? Oh.
There's not.
Well, the lamb mask was bad enough.
The masks in Your Next are a lamb, a wolf, and what looks like a lion or possibly a tiger.
Oh.
And the one on the cover is actually the wolf, not the lamb.
Oh.
But still,
Well, I never even saw that movie. I don't even know if it's actually scary. I don't know the premise at all. I just remember the trailer had intruders wearing animal masks, and I was like horrified, and that's all.
right. I am so sorry, Connor.
Yeah.
I You actually gave me two different segues to my other fears.
Okay. Go on.
And I don't know which one to take. One of them has to do with childhood being exposed to horror too early. One of them has to do with like obscuring yourself.
Ooh.
I'll do the one for obscuring.
Whichever one you want to take.
Your Next is a horror movie that I personally do enjoy. People that watch this channel know that I'm a horror movie buff. I love it to death. I consume horror movies quite often. I watch Your Next in theaters and really enjoyed it. But it did touch on one fear that is very primal to me, and that is home invasions.
Mm.
I am so terrified of the act of somebody, like the idea of somebody breaking into a place where I live or I reside or a place where I feel
Mm-hmm.
comfort. The idea of somebody like harming me or trapping me in that personal space, like it is so viscerally powerful to me. And I can point back where that fear first manifested into one specific scene in a movie.
Yeah.
It is the scene from the movie The Strangers 2008
With Liv
where
Tyler.
Liv Tyler is with Liv Tyler. She is paranoid. She knows shit's going crazy around this log cabin she's in. Well, this cabin in general, but She's standing in the kitchen and she's like looking around, but her back is turned to like the hallway. And from the darkness, you just see a man with a burlap looking mask come out of the darkness just enough to watch her, but he doesn't do anything. He just watches her.
Oh gosh.
And that idea of somebody being so harmful, threatening me, and being in that space, even if they're not actively hurting me, was so frightening to me. Because I grew up living in the woods. And I slept with the curtains closed for the rest of my life and had a lot of nightmares. And to this day, I still can't sleep if the shower curtain in my apartment is closed. Because I manifest home invaders where there are not.
Did you finish talking?
Yeah, I finished talking.
You were talking about the shower curtain and said meh, and then it stopped.
Oh, I said I invent home invaders where there aren't any.
Oh, okay. Well, you reminded me of something.
Tell me.
It's not so much a fear as it is like a paranoia.
Gotcha.
I always feel like I'm under surveillance.
Ooh.
Like, I always think that every reflective surface has like a camera in it. And this stems from me like as a child, like thinking like all of my friends in high school can see me through my bathroom mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where this paranoia came from and why it like persists to this day. And sometimes I like actively like work against it. Like I just like stand naked in front of my mirror and stare at myself. I'm like, nobody can see me. Nobody's spying on me. Nobody's watching me.
Do you know about the finger test?
The what test?
The finger test for reflective surfaces?
Oh, where it's like if you put your finger against it and there's like a gap between you and your reflection, it's a one-way mirror.
Exactly.
I heard that that's not true.
What? I've always heard that it is true. I mean, obviously, that's what the nature of conflicting information is, but I don't know the validity.
I don't know. I think it, like the explanation I read said that it has to do with the density of the mirror, like the surface itself. Because
Right.
it's like the mercury and the silver or something in the mirror is what gives it its reflective quality. But depending on how dense the material is, there can actually be some space between you and the reflective part.
I have no idea.
Yeah. I don't know either. But I heard it's not true.
That is a powerful paranoia, though.
Sometimes it like adds to like my exhibitionist kink though. Like when I'm in a fitting room at a clothing store, I'll just like stand naked in front of the mirror like, is somebody actually watching me? And I'll just like stand there naked in the fitting room.
Hell yeah. That is what is up.
That is what is up.
So, do you want to continue that into another fear that you have? Because technically that was a paranoia more than it was a fear.
Well, I don't have a follow-up fear, but I will say that one of the first places I lived when I moved to New York had like an extensive surveillance network inside of it. Like
Ew, oh
the
God.
lady I was renting from had like security cameras in every common area.
Is this the place in Brooklyn?
Yes.
Oh no.
So the kitchen had 2 cameras. The living room
That is
had 1
really
camera.
uncomfortable.
The front entry hall had a camera, and that's it, I think. Like the bathroom didn't have one, and my bedroom didn't have one. But
I hope your bedroom didn't have one.
me too.
So, Connor, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've thought of several different other fears that I have, if I'm being honest. I'm starting to think I'm a scaredy bitch.
Okay.
Would you like me to just read them off or talk about them?
Are any of them worth talking about?
Oh, all of them have at least some level of fun to them. There are a few that are like very common. For example, heights and spiders. I was traumatized with spiders when I was really young. There are a few that are a bit more unique though, like bugs in general. I'm not hugely terrified of bugs, but like a lot of bugs, especially household bugs like silverfish. God, they horrify me.
Mm.
But the 2 unique ones that I can really think of that I feel like not everybody has is one of them is a lack of autonomy. The idea of being controlled or otherwise not having full function over your own faculties.
Mm.
Like that idea of not being able to, like hypothetically, this is an extension of that fear. It's not directly, but like if a friend steals your cell phone and then messages something on your official Twitter, that kind of horrifies me in a way because you will never be able to fully separate that tweet from yourself, even if people do believe that it was your friend posting it, not you. Because Like it bears your name whether or not people believe it. And or hypothetically, like the idea of being brainwashed or the idea of being manipulated or possessed, all those things are like having a mental illness that debilitates you. All those things really horrify me in a way that is really hard to explain.
I mean, that's probably one of the most understandable fears.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't get to control your own narrative. Well, okay, so on one hand, that example you gave about the tweet, that's like
Right.
you've lost control over how the world perceives you.
Right.
Like the unspoken contract with social media is you get to curate the content you put out in the world and how people perceive you.
Exactly.
And that violation from another party almost impacts you more on like a psychic level than anything else could.
Precisely. It's just this idea that it is that like violation of contract, almost this false agency of I put it out there under my name even though I had no control over what was being submitted. That's horrifying to me. Like when I think of the idea of people being social media managers for companies or individuals, I think, oh my God, how would I ever trust anybody to ever do that for me? Because that's something that's like branded to me in some regard. I don't know if I would ever truly be able to trust somebody with that kind of thing.
Right. Like how do
Um,
celebrities like hire social media like managers?
exactly. Like at literal any instance, they could ruin your life for a period of time, if not forever.
Yeah, like that's a level of trust I'm not willing to give up.
Same. I guess I'll go into my final fear that I can think of right now. And it's also one that's worthy of like talking about because I really don't have an explanation for it. I'm sorry. I just don't know what happened to cause this or why it's a thing, but it's a thing.
Hmm.
All right. When you go to the zoo, there are a lot of different animals that are very exotic. There's one particular animal at the zoo, and God, I don't know what it is about this
Oh my
animal,
gosh, I
but
know where this is going.
I don't know what it is about this animal. I don't know if it's an uncanny valley thing. I don't know what it is, but it horrifies me. And I remember I went in third grade. We went to the Riverbank Zoo on a field trip in South Carolina in Columbia. Went to Riverbanks, and I remember seeing this animal. I think, and it was either Riverbanks or Hollywild, but that's a different story. I saw this animal, and this fear existed before then, but like it just sort of it became physical reality in that moment. And I saw it, and I stood at the back of like the little enclosure where you can be, and I just started like shaking, and I was like on the verge of tears because I was so afraid of it, and I don't know why. Yes, fans, I'll admit it. I'll stop beating around the bush. I'm terrified of the animal sloths, the really slow, long claws, furry things. I am terrified of them. I don't. Oh, sorry, I just imagined having one on me when I was saying that, and it scared me. Because I know you can go to like
Oh my
Guatemala and Costa.
God.
I know you can go to Guatemala and Costa Rica, and like you can have them be like people can be like, "Oh, I'm going to take a picture with one. I want to have one around me." I don't want that. And people are like, "Oh yeah, they're so lazy. They fall out of trees and forget to hang on, and they just fall out of trees." I'm like, if one of those bitches fell out of a tree and landed within a 10-foot radius of me, there would be a piss cloud where I was just standing as I sprinted off like a Looney Tune character.
I love that. Wait, do you? Okay. I don't want to use her real name, so maybe I can help you figure out who I'm talking about.
Okay.
You might have been there. It was at the WOOF, the Winthrop Organization of Free Thinkers, and
Okay.
she like told a story about sloth.
I don't know who you're talking about or what the story
You
is.
had a class with her when you were both freshmen, and she had a crush on you.
Oh yeah, because I didn't know she had a crush on me until later.
Yeah. Anyway, do you remember the story she told about the sloths?
No, I don't.
She was at some beach with her family,
Oh no.
and there was. Okay, I can't remember what you reminded me of it when you were talking about them just falling out of trees. So I don't remember if um, she was in one of those countries like Costa Rica or Guatemala, or if she was at a like a U.S. beach and like this truck had crashed or something. but she was on the beach with her family. And
Uh-huh.
for some reason, there were like all of these sloths on the beach, and they were just like crawling toward her. Just like at like -1 miles per hour. Just,
Connor,
I'm so sorry. I don't want to traumatize you.
oh, I wish we were video calling so people could tell I wasn't playing this bitch up, but like, that's, that's like such,
She's literally asphyxiating folks.
that's such a horrifying, I'm just imagine being surrounded by them where my only survival is the ocean.
So, well, I feel like she was closer to land and they were on the shore, but that doesn't really make sense because they would have had to have been either in trees or on the road where the like zoo transport truck was.
Oh my god.
I mean, it can't be that hard to just like go around them. They move so slowly.
Yeah, but they move faster than me fucking frozen paralyzed.
So, how were you able to watch the Ice Age movies growing up?
What's weird is like a lot of digital or like media iterations of sloths. There's like a weird dissonance between the actual animal and the creature. Like Sid is a giant sloth.
Hmm.
He does not look like a
He
sloth to
really
me.
doesn't look like a
just
sloth at all.
he just looks like some random ass mammal they put together. And like all right, Zootopia, the fucking people at the DMV, they are obviously sloths. They are meant to be sloths, but something about them didn't ever register as being a sloth to me. And the I think I know. Oh God, thanks. I'm sorry.
Something's happening to her, folks.
I think I know what one of the biggest parts of it is.
Tell me, please.
It's a combination of the fact that even if they move slow, they have one, these gigantic claws.
Yeah.
Two, their faces are really wide and they always have that like empty faced grin.
That is pretty scary.
Okay, can we please talk about something else?
Um, you reminded me of like a real irrational fear I have actually.
Mm-hmm.
I have this fear that I'm being stalked.
Ooh, by anybody particular or
Yes,
just
like
in
a
general?
specific person who my rational brain knows has no interest in like following me around. But for some reason, I feel like, I'm walking down the street and I catch a glimpse of somebody and I think it's them for a second. And like I freeze and my heart starts racing and I'm like, no, it wasn't them. It wasn't them. They're not back. They're not following you. Or I'll catch like the scent that reminds me of them and I'm like, they're here. It's terrifying.
That's more of a trauma response than a fear, though, isn't it? Which, I
Yeah,
mean, I guess trauma is fear, but
I mean, it's irrational for sure. Like, I know this person has moved on. I assume this person has moved on. But I mean, to be fair, this person also, like, manipulated me and isolated me and would, like, show up at my place of work and at my house. So, like the
gotcha.
trauma came, like, honestly.
Right, because that person did make you feel like in danger in spaces where you normally would not.
Yeah, where I shouldn't have felt like my life was in. Well, I mean, I didn't feel in danger because, like,
You felt it. There was still a threatening presence of the idea of this person. There was like a lack of separation between this person and like spaces where you were expected to be of a certain way and couldn't react normally.
right.
I'm sorry, Connor. I can't think of who it is, but I also am not going to ask about it just because I don't want to like trigger anything.
I'm okay, yeah. I won't get into it. Um, but yeah, that is like an irrational fear I have. Whether or not
Gotcha.
it's born of like a tangible trauma, it's like irrational. Like this person is not here.
If I'm being 100% honest, I kind of get that same thing
Oh
sometimes.
yeah?
Yeah, it's not to the same degree, mind you. Like your thing is very, very different for sure. Like 100% different. But I have a baby version of that with somebody that we went to college with, and it's not the obvious one you're thinking of. Um, it's actually I'm not going to say their name because I'll just make editing work for myself, but they are somebody, their name, whatever, I'll say their name because it's the only way I can really communicate it to you. Um,
Yeah, I knew.
okay, you did know. All right. But I still have that same thing sometimes because when I was on campus, I dead ass really thought about, I almost transferred from Winthrop at one point because I was so afraid of being in like public spaces sometimes because I was like, all right, I didn't know what that relationship was when it was happening. For it to lead to such a place where I now didn't feel real comfortable in my own spaces, who's to say that wouldn't happen again? And I remember sitting on the benches on Scholars Walk, which I don't think are there anymore, much to my dismay.
What? The
Yeah,
swings?
I think they took out all the swings.
Oh my God.
I think they did because people kept breaking them.
Really?
But that's my
I
understanding.
hate college students.
I do too, especially when I was a college student. I hated me. But yeah, I almost transferred schools because I was so afraid of being in like spaces where I normally would feel secure in public or at peace. That it really, I remember just staying in my apartment for a while and being like, this is the only place I can guarantee that person is not here, is in this realm right here.
Ow.
But especially since moving away from South Carolina, that has been not a problem because I know they would not be here or anywhere that I normally am.
Right.
Yay, trauma response.
Yay, trauma. My favorite thing to talk about.
Ren Fair is not the podcast of trauma from the margins is.
Trauma from the margins.
Like, I know you mentioned you made a joke in your Ren Fair episode.
Yeah.
You made a joke in your Ren Fair episode that like it was going to be based around like all the episodes are going to involve trauma, but I think Ren Fair from the margins might be the true trauma podcast.
Like we're generating active trauma for anybody who's like trapped listening to us.
I mean, I will say I would not imagine anybody's ever trapped listening to us. They can click off at any time, but at the same time, we also understand that these are weird circumstances.
Well, also,
yeah,
in order to drive traffic, I actively kidnap people off the street and chain them up in my basement and make them listen to From the Margins.
That explains why our metrics have been so weird recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just trying to crack the YouTube algorithm.
Okay, because I remember seeing that we had a view from New York City, but their cell phone that they also watched us on was from Honduras, and now I'm really confused. So I that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay, thank you, Connor, for clearing that up. I'm glad. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm surprised it didn't come up earlier.
But I actually, like, it's one of those things, it's like you wonder, but it's like...
Wait, Violet, stop.
Yeah.
All right, keep going. It looked like Audacity crashed for a second, but it didn't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hee hee.
What do we want to talk about next?
Well, we were just talking about fears.
Yeah?
Let's like pivot to strange addictions. Do you know what I do?
Tell me what you do.
Sometimes I'll like touch something, like a surface that I'm walking past, and then I'll like sniff my fingers afterwards. I'm like, I don't know why.
Now, is that an addictive or a compulsive thing? Like, I guess
it might be
addiction
a compulsion,
versus compulsion
right.
depends on because an addiction, I think of something being gratifying about it, but a compulsion, I think I have to do it because of a reason.
Well, an addiction is you can't like exist without doing it, and when you're not doing it, you're craving it, and you're having like what is it called when you're not getting something?
Withdrawal?
Withdrawals, yeah. You get withdrawals from not doing it.
Right.
And I don't get withdrawals from not sniffing my fingers. It's like a compulsion.
I mean, again, if we're going to have that definition of addiction, then I really can't think of any addictions to which I would ever withdraw from. I can only think of one, but it's not like very exciting. The only thing I could ever imagine like having withdrawals from a lack of it is probably just internet.
My only addiction is you.
Do we need to stop the podcast and have a quick little session? You know what I mean.
Let's at least get to the 45-minute mark. That's 8 more minutes.
Okay.
Do you have 8 minutes of content in you, baby?
Me?
Yeah.
Hell yeah. I got 8 more minutes of content, more than you could imagine.
Ooh, hit me. Hit me.
Wait, I'm
hit me. What?
I'm confused. Are we recording something separate, or what are we doing now?
I don't know.
Let's continue talking about addiction.
My strange addiction.
I swear to God, whenever I visit, I grew up in a rural area in South Carolina. I go visit my family. We have internet, but it's not like internet you can actually do anything with. Like, you can't watch Netflix, you can't watch YouTube, you can't do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
Level bad. And here's how bad the internet was when I grew up. Wi-Fi was not a thing. I would come home during middle school. I would come home from class. I would discover a music video I wanted to download to my iPod. I would start it downloading. Connor, do you know how long it took to download?
Until you got up for school the next morning?
No. Until I got home from school the next day.
Oh my God.
Yep, like I have seriously come home from school, started a video downloading, come home from school and been like, it has 5 minutes left.
I'm upset for you.
Yeah, because that's what southern rural depravity looks like.
Kids these days have no idea.
Also, I do know the difference between deprivation and depravity. I chose depravity on purpose.
I didn't even catch that. Isn't it depravity?
I don't know. I think of somebody as being depraved, so I
Right.
just I attribute that pronunciation to the word depravity
Right. Well, to be
or
fair,
depravity.
there's that one emo indie band, Nightmare of You, and they say depravity in one of their songs. And like every
Gotcha.
time, but they also pronounced a lot of words wrong, and I wondered if it was like on purpose or not.
Well, if we're being honest, Connor, you also know that I'm kind of like the queen of pronouncing things wrong. Like, I remember visiting you when you lived in Brooklyn still, and it's like, oh yeah, I live, we're only a couple stops away from Halsey Street. And I'm like, because I would say Halsey instead of Halsey.
Do you know the street that bears the same name as a city in Texas?
I mean, I can take some guesses, but I don't know. Like, wait, no. Are you talking about Houston Street?
Okay, there you go.
Okay, I know Houston.
Wait, you want to talk about pronouncing things wrong?
Sure.
I moved to New York City saying Greenwich instead of Greenwich.
Oh, poor baby.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was saying Greenwich.
Oh my god. I have to say some stuff about Denver, Colorado to everybody that's not from Denver.
I'm not from Denver.
Which is why, like, this. You don't ever talk about Colorado, so it's not like a big deal. But if you move to Colorado, here are a few rules off the top of your head. Number one, it's Arapaho. It's not Arapaho. It's not Arapaho. It is Arapaho.
I feel like I knew that for some reason.
Yeah, because it seems simple enough, and yet people get it wrong all the time. Also, it's Arvada, pronounced similar to Nevada, not Arvada, not Ayurveda. It's Arvada.
I've never heard that one, but I feel like I would have gotten it wrong. I
It
would
is a
have said
city.
Arvada.
Like Arvada is like almost acceptable, but Arvada is like the more. Arvada is the one that people from there say.
Well, I have a friend who's like born and raised in Denver, and she says Colorado. So,
Oh, she says ah, not ah.
yeah.
Burn her.
Like, I'm from Colorado. She has like a low-key
Like,
accent and everything.
like, there's no such thing as a Colorado accent. Like, it's just its own thing.
I
Like,
guess not.
so weird. Because I also know, like, again, I live in Denver. I know several native Coloradans, and not a single one ever says ah. Never, none of them ever say Addo.
Colorado.
Colorado. It almost sounds like Sarah Palin.
Okay, well, we're
moved.
not like full Minnesota or anything. She says Colorado, but like she doesn't have like an actual accent.
That's fair. But yeah, Arvada is like a city on the northwest side of Denver Metro where like it's not a bad little city. I like it pretty well. Yep. That's all I can think about in terms of Colorado pronunciations. But I did mispronounce Halsey forever. I called her Halsey and I called the street in New York Halsey. But it's Halsey. There are several other things. Like I feel like there's some stuff regarding Pokemon that I used to mispronounce, but I don't remember what it was.
I have a friend who says Rattata instead of Ratata.
Oh my god, that's one of them.
Like frittata.
I used to call it Ratatat
Ratatat. Like you just added a T even though there wasn't one.
because I never could like for some reason when I would read it I got like really I could never like read it correctly and I just would always not know how to pronounce it. So I'm like, oh, they're obviously trying to build up to Ratatat and not anything else. For some reason that made more sense to me than any other pronunciation.
I mean, I feel like the North American localization did make it Ratata because it's close to Ratatat.
Right. But I just said full Ratatat.
Ratatat. Ratata.
Can I order a frittata?
I've only ever eaten one frittata in my life.
I'm having trouble remembering what a frittata is.
It's kind of like a fried egg casserole in a
Oh,
way.
okay, then I've had frittata. I like it.
Oh, not
Well,
fried,
I'm
not
also
fried, not
imagining
fried.
like a
Kind of
hash.
like baked. It's like a baked egg casserole.
That almost sounds like a quiche.
Yeah, but it's not a quiche. I don't know. It's like an omelet but thicker, and it has like things inside of it. I think she baked it. Maybe she made it on the stovetop. Do you know my friend Maggie? who is like a loyal subscriber and listener.
You're right, Connor. I don't know your friend Maggie. That's why I definitely did not include her in the credits for our
Well,
for
I'm
our
just
Kingdom,
trying
our
to
video
like
games
I'm
episode.
trying to like bring her into the conversation, okay?
Yes, I
Yes,
know
you
and
know
love
Maggie.
Maggie.
Her mom made me a frittata once.
Oh, Maggie.
Yeah. Well, Maggie's
I love
mom.
her. Hi, Maggie.
Miss Maggie's
Well, hi,
mom.
both of them.
Hi, guys. Thanks for the frittata. It made it on air.
Is Miss Maggie's mom her real name? Is that her legal name?
I mean, I know her legal name. I don't know if we're saying it on air or not.
I don't know.
I'm texting her right now.
Oh, yay.
Talking about your mom's frittata on the podcast.
Perfect. Now I get to cut this part out and you look like an asshole.
No.
I won't.
No. Well, let's see how she responds before
what I'm
you
actually...
promise to cut it out. Yeah?
That's fair. I actually wanted to mention something. I know we were talking about fears earlier this episode. Connor, you know what I'm really afraid of? I mean, not afraid of. You know what I'm surprised by?
What?
Neither of us are particularly afraid of ghosts.
I'm definitely not afraid of ghosts.
I'm not either. Like, that actually is just really strange to me. Do you have any paranormal experiences that you've ever experienced yourself?
I feel like I used to have a story lined up, but off the top of my head now, I can't think of one.
Would you like me to start? Because I think I actually have two, kind of.
Yeah, tell me about your supernatural experience.
All right. Again, grew up in rural South Carolina. Yeah. Same thing. There is a property that adjoins my family's property. And there is a ghost story associated with that property where the guy who owned the house on that property, which is now completely abandoned, the house is, and it's in disrepair and not livable whatsoever. The entire property is now being used as like a combination. It's a soybean field, but they also plant other things too, but mostly soybeans. In the middle of the property, there's a tree. There's like a grove of trees, and the house is in the middle of that. The story is the guy came back from World War II. He spent like all the money that he had in his life to buy property. And again, it's technically in Blacksburg, but back then I think it was like part of Grover. I don't know. He bought the property there and they were building on the property and he was having a well dug. And for some reason, the construction company did not mark the well properly. And this place was full of field grass. It was really thick and it was hard to see. The guy, while walking around his new property and sort of admiring it, fell down the well, broke his leg, and fucking drowned.
Oh, no.
And ever since, the property is supposed to be haunted. And I remember I was walking down the hill from my house to one of my relatives' houses. I looked across the field because I just got a sense to, and it was nighttime. Well, late evening. I could still see. And I saw a dude just standing in the middle of that field after the soybeans had been like cut and harvested. And he was just staring dead ass at me. And I was staring dead ass at him. I stopped in my tracks and was like, oh God, this guy's like looking at me. And then like the wind blew and I lost sight of him. He fucking evaporated, it seemed like. And I was like, oh, that's real fucked, dude. Okay, bye.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the only two I think I've ever had.
Huh.
Yep. The other two is much less exciting. That's why I would tell it second.
Oh, okay. Do you want to tell them?
Sure, it's very quick.
Right.
I was laying in my mom's room, and I was laying on her bed watching TV and a TV that she had in her room. I was watching some movie that was not scary in the slightest. I think it might have been like the second Casper movie with Hilary Duff, if you know which one I mean.
No, not at all. I'm like chuckling because you mentioned Casper and Hilary Duff.
Because that was like her first ever role was in the second Casper movie. But anyway, I was watching that movie, I think, and it wasn't even like a spooky part or whatsoever, as if there were spooky parts in that movie. And I remember from the corner of my eye, you can see into the bathroom my mom has adjacent to her room. And from the mirror in our bathroom that's big enough you can see, I saw a reflection of a guy standing in our bathroom looking at me from the reflection in the mirror. Like, he was standing in a corner I could not see, but from the angling of the mirror, I could see him standing in the back of the dark of the bathroom, looking at me, just watching me.
Ah!
And I just remember thinking, well, shit, son, that's not good. I didn't say that exact phrase.
But, that is not good.
I turned my eyes back to the TV, Then I turned my eyes back to the mirror and I saw him again. And I'm like, okay, one more time. And I looked at the TV again and I looked back at the mirror and didn't see him. So I turned on the lights in my bathroom, checked the closet, checked every physical space that any human being could fit, and did not see him. And the window in the bathroom was not open. Yep.
That's spoopy.
Yep, but I still don't believe in ghosts, to be honest.
I mean, I don't think I believe in ghosts. I mean, I have like this weird like cosmic idea of like energy that, you know, all life possesses, and like you know, feelings you have and actions you take have like cosmic reverberations, maybe.
Right.
But like a sentient spirit staying behind after the host body has passed on, I don't think it's that deep. Maybe if like somebody...
I agree.
You know the story you told about the man who like drowned in the well after breaking his leg? Like his fear and like any resentment he might have held towards the living could have lived on. But like his like actual mind state did not stay behind, I believe.
No, right. Because like in both of those scenarios, neither of the ghosts even showed any sort of sentience other than just standing in one place and looking in the direction. Like, agreed.
What a deep place to bring our episode. Just kidding. Like, we were deep from the second I mentioned my stalker.
Oh God, yes. Did you have any paranormal scenarios you wanted to bring up?
No, I can't think of any. I just know like 2 days later it's gonna like occur to me. But as of time of recording, no, I've lived a very normal life.
Normal, quote, quote.
I can tell one of my dad's stories if you want to cry.
I definitely am okay with crying, but I also do have to pee.
Alright, so let's just end it there.
Aw, but now the audience is going to be on a cliffhanger.
Not if you cut it out.
I mean, but then we could have just as easily paused and me go pee.
PayPal me $20 if you want to hear about the time my dad saw a ghost.
Connor, we're going to look greedy.
I am greedy. I am not going to make my student loan payments.
True, but who do you think's listening to this episode? Most of them are probably students.
JK, LOL. I don't want to tell my dad's story. It's for him.
Okay, that's fair.
Now we're just going to end this on an awkward note. Let's do a better wrap up right this second. Else.
Okay, Connor.
Yes.
Have you ever broken any bones?
No.
Okay, I have. I broke a thumb once.
I had a cancerous mole removed from my finger once.
Well, shit. That sounds like it needs a story.
I was like 5 years old and I had melanoma on my pinky, and they removed it, and then they had to like cut all the way down to the bone. It didn't metastasize or anything, but like they had to cut all the way down to like remove any remaining cancer. And the skin wouldn't grow back normally, so they had to do a skin graft from my armpit. And somehow like the hair follicles survived the transplant, the graft, and now I have armpit hair growing on my pinky finger.
Weird.
What bone did you break? Your pinky? Wait.
Oh no, I broke my thumb on my.
You broke your thumb. It was my pinky. It was your thumb.
Yep.
The alcohol's hitting.
Oh, no worries. The flash version of the story of me breaking my thumb is my mom had a company picnic. I was like 8 years old, and there were a bunch of kids playing volleyball, and I was bored, and I wanted to go play with them. They were a lot of older kids, so I wanted to impress them, and somebody spiked the ball, and I tried to like dive to do a dig and like hit it. But I realized halfway through the dive, I was not going to be able to land properly, so I tried to catch myself with one hand, and it hyperextended my right thumb backwards, and it completely just cracked. Yeah, so that's the only broken bone I've had so far, knock on wood.
Way to go, Violet. You ruined your mom's company picnic.
Oh, please. All I did was go running to her crying and squalling as my hand swelled up. That's all I did.
I love you.
Love you too. That was a better note to end on. Thank you for listening, everybody. We love you all to death. Can't wait to hear from you again. Thank you for joining us. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and tell us your favorite part. Tell us your favorite fear. Tell us your fears, your broken bone stories.
Your favorite
fears. Have you seen a ghost? I know. I'm sorry.
Remember to vote.
Remember to vote. Always vote. All right. Anything else we want to add?
I love all of you.
I love you all too, and you guys make this all worthwhile. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.